Plenty of uncertainty as we start this session here in Australia. Let's get a top-down view, though, on the market themes that will be moving things around today and in the days to come. Peter McGuire joins us in studio from XM. Peter, welcome. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nadine.
Let's start with gold, because that's a here and now. It has, spot gold,
Yep.
broken through that 2,000 per ounce level.
Yeah, you know, it was at 1985. I was making some notes about an hour and a half ago, and I just had a look back on Bloomberg, and there it was at 2001. So it's here. It's probably smashed everyone's expectations. Got there a little bit later than what we expected. Some were saying at the end of July, but there you go, first trading day of August. And yeah, not surprising. Though it's interesting to see that US dollar bounce up 1%. From those lows of Friday, it's back up.
So when it comes to gold, is now the trajectory confirmed? Is it onwards and upwards from here?
You know, you've got to look also that US dollar has taken a big hit to the downside. It was at its lowest in a year on Friday at 92.5 approximate US dollar index from about 103. So that 10% or 11% fall was absorbed, and gold had that big upward tick. Since then, gold has gone up, US dollar's gone up, so let's just see how the week runs. Just seems to be more bad news everywhere as far as coronavirus in the States and that lockdown phase, so maybe that's what's driving it upwards.
Okay, talk to us about coronavirus. This is a major concern. We know that, but it seems as if it's becoming more pronounced in Victoria. That means that any of the economic data we get through that is pre-Melbourne lockdown, you've got to think, Peter, isn't really going to mean anything.
Well, no, it doesn't. That's right, Nadine. I mean, you can't really summarise it much more than no, it doesn't, because that's the same thing as far as those unemployment numbers that will be released on Friday in the States. They're only until the middle or the second week of July. So in the States, we've had massive changes over the last 2 to 3 weeks in the States. Lockdowns being reintroduced, and the same here. So do you believe the numbers? The numbers are weak. It's really the point that you've got to look, I think, even further out than August, probably September, 2 months' time, and then we take a little bit of another snapshot. But yeah, it's a worrying thought.
And we get all of these PMIs this week. I mean, we've had the AI group one this morning. We'll get the private read coming from China today.
Sure.
And then that sort of cascades right around the US and Europe. So again, when it comes to
the numbers, do you believe them?
Yeah.
They're washy at best, you know, and some of those numbers coming out of China, yeah, they're looking like there's a fairly strong recovery, there's no doubt in that. But what happens as far as you also got to look at the demand picture.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I think anyone that's looking at anything just looks at demand, and is the demand there? And, you know, when you're looking at the job seeker, job keeper, how it plays here, you're worrying about the States, that $600 per week or approximate, we've got to get, that's come to an end as far as Friday or Saturday our time in the States. So now you're looking at Congress this week before they go on a break. At the end of the week, imagine they going on a break. Do you believe it? I mean, you know, you'd say, well, no, we're not going on breaks. We're in a war zone, and we've got to, you know, all hands on deck. But no, they're going on a break, so they've got to see if they can steamroll that through. So that increases from a consumption side. It gives people some horsepower to be able to actually buy some goods.
Yeah, but there's no bipartisan support when it comes, and it appears as if the Democrats are playing hardball.
You betcha.
They're not looking to compromise on this
one. We're 3 months today from the election, 3rd of November, we're 3rd of August, 90 days out, and really I haven't heard one word. Well, I'm in Australia, but I haven't heard much from Biden. I've heard very little from Trump. When does the election campaign start? And what is the election going to be fought on? Because we don't hear too much about it, really. That's in Main Street, and I know we're a little bit removed from the reality of it all, but even I've got colleagues in the States, you're not hearing that much noise.
No, well, because it's almost, it's second tier right now when you're coping with, you know, very real realities of people not being able to put food in their mouths.
People, yeah, exactly right. You've got the death saga as far as aged care and what's happening here, and of course in the States, and it just seems to be, you know, you're looking at Japan, old age population, they thought they'd beaten it, and now it's come back roaring back in Japan. Okay.
Let's talk about some main sectors. So we've got gold covered. We're watching that closely today, and looks like the trajectory may be higher.
The fear's going to drive it higher.
Yeah, we've got oil as well. So we saw oil shaking off earlier declines on Friday to end slightly higher. But again, does this all come back to the demand side of the equation for you?
Absolutely, because, you know, when you're thinking it's still range bound, you know, it's 40 to 43 for Brent and WTI. There's no breakouts. We've had that strong recovery, and it seems to be just staying in that tight band. There's nothing to push it higher or lower. The only thing that will push it higher would be geopolitical shocks. Something happens in Libya with Egypt and Turkey and for the tribal region. Secondly, you'd have to look at massive weather outages in the States to drive a change. But even that's, there's that much capacity out there, I don't think that's really going to impact. So I can't see anything to drive crude higher at the moment.
I'll just note for our viewers, so we're not necessarily familiar with this name here in Australia, but it's a luxury department store in the US, Lord & Taylor, filing for bankruptcy along with its owner, which is a venture-backed fashion rental subscription service, Le Tote. So anyways, another Chapter 11 filing in the US in the retail space. I mean, this is really what we've seen so far. You've got to think, Peter, the tip of the iceberg. And likely to see a lot more here in Australia as well.
Well, that's right. You hear what's going to happen here in October and November. It's going to be a dire Christmas for a lot of consumers and from the retail sector. So, there's nothing getting away from it. Hopefully we get a vaccine, and a vaccine happens quickly. We're in the hands of big pharma to make that happen and governments to protect us. And then it needs to be a very concerted push to assist the man on the street, the woman on the street, and everyone in between, so that we've been able to put food on the table, and secondly, that there are jobs.
Big issues. Peter McGuire, thank you so much for starting out the week with us. A big week to come. We've got the RBA, we've got the Statement of Monetary Policy and US jobless claims, as you referenced on Friday.